Hello, so welcome to this video. It's going to be a little bit different from the others because there will be certain sections where I will be showing you how to do something without actually doing it, which means that I'm assuming that you know how to cut, to draw around a cardboard shape, etc., etc. Then there will be sections where I will actually be demonstrating how I do it. What we will be making is, in this video, is the lining that goes inside the pocket. You call it an angel wrap, a cuddle pocket, an angel pocket. There's all different names for it. A pouch. But we'll be making the lining. So, as I've said in my previous videos, if you have watched them, this is just a springboard. So in the end, it'll be really just a way to show you how I do it. And I keep evolving my techniques, and what I do today is not necessarily what I'll do next week or next month, but at the moment this is how I do them. It will look like this before it gets inserted. This one has been actually sewn in place, so that will be part of the video, but later on how we actually sew it into place. For now, what we're going to try and do is work out how to get this. I have a bunch of templates here, and when I have crocheted or knitted up the pocket, I then will decide which size fits. So you would think, well, okay, that's a 6-inch. There's still some space to go. Maybe I'll go to a 6¼ inch. But actually, no, even though that looks like it would fit, it doesn't actually, because of the way that I do it. I always have a little corner here, and I like to have a little bit of breathing space. So it will be this one, and as you can see from here, it's going to be cut out, as you'll see. And this one here is the 6¼ inch. See, you can actually see there's a little bit of extra there, and if I try to get this in, it is too big. It'll jam over here, it will jam there. If you did a different technique and you rounded your edges, then yes, most certainly, I'm sure that you could use a 6¼ inch. But I'm keeping my corners at this moment anyway, I'm keeping them sharp, so it doesn't fit. This one here is a 6-inch. Once it's sewn up, you'll see that once it's sewn, it's a little bit smaller than the actual template. But it's not that much, it's just quite marginal. And I'm actually free holding my phone here, so I can't actually show you. But I have tried, and it fits in nicely. You see, once mine are sewn in, there is a little gap here. But I don't mind that, because the essential is to actually make a nice little lining. It is more obvious on this color combination, the gap, but if it's on the white, it blends in quite nicely. So this is the introduction, and I tend to also mass produce, so I will make a whole lot at the same time. So once I have crocheted or knitted up the pocket, I can very easily just choose a size from here. The other triangles, they've been put together with, this one I used just now, but they've been put together with triangles. And then I'll go to the sewing machine and I will actually sew a whole lot of them at the same time. So these ones haven't been sewn yet, but they were ironed yesterday, and they will all be sewn at the same time. But for this video, I am doing it, I'm just making one. Okay, so next step. The next step is the tracing of the template onto the fabric. I've come to the end of this fabric. I first washed it, and it has a very it doesn't really crease very a lot, so I've been very lucky with that. It's a poly cotton I found on eBay. So what I did was I was actually making a whole lot at the same time. Can't tell you exactly what sizes, but I was basically laying them out like this. And I think I had the large ones over here. And then I was tracing around them and then cutting out 4 pieces of fabric at one go. So that's how I was doing it. And of course now I've run out of fabric. And then I was just working my way up by moving the fabric down. Just because it's so much easier if you make a whole lot in one go. But for demonstrations, I'm only going to make one, and then you can see how it is. So what I need is this chosen size. In this case, I am making a 6-inch. I need pins, I need a sharp pencil, and I need a pair of scissors. And with the pencil, I will be outlining all the way around. Then I will remove it. Now this has 4 layers because I was doing 4 at a time, but I will need 2 layers. So I will take the larger template and I'll put it underneath before I pin it. So there we go. I drew around it. Before I put the pins in, I took it off. I selected 2. I put the template underneath and I've pinned it. But I will be cutting all 4 because I need a square for my triangle. Obviously the triangle will be folded like that. So I will be cutting this and then you will see where I am. There we go. I've cut it. It's on the fold. So what I will do is take this fabric here and put it on that side. And then I'm in a very tiny flat, so you can see I'm using the kitchen. But that is all that I have available to me. So I folded it open. There is my square. I'll be cutting up here, and that'll leave me 2 more squares, one of which I'll be using for a triangle. So I had the 2 spare squares. I folded this one here, and then I pinned it. So now I have a triangle, but it hasn't been marked yet. I use the square here. I don't have a separate triangle. I just use the square, and then I measure it and put it right in place. It has already been pinned, so it's not going to shift. And I will be marking around that edge, and then once I have that, I can now go and sew. So these are the pieces that are ready, and I am going to actually stop this video and start the next one. I will join them all in one, but there might be a discrepancy of sound or something, and I'll also be going to a different section of the apartment to do the sewing. So here we are at my sewing desk. I have set it up with the right equipment. We are going to be making this. It is the pocket, but before we can get there, we actually need to first sew closed the triangle and the square. So only later on will we come back after we've ironed it and do that. So it's very basic. I will be leaving open a space, and I will be back stitching on both sides. So I will be going all the way around, and when I come here, I leave about, I don't know how long is it, it's about an inch, inch and a half, no, about an inch and a half I'll be leaving open. And the triangle, I will start up here, I will go down, back stitch, leap over, do a little bit back stitch, and then all the way down to this point here, all the way to the end, and then I will back stitch. And over here I'll back stitch as well, just to make sure that it's nicely firmly sewn in there. So I will start with that, and let me change the angle of the camera. So I am back. For you it's 1 second, but for me it's been half an hour. I have been correcting the tension on my sewing machine. I had to take the bobbin out and adjust the little tiny screw on the side of the bobbin because the thread changed and it is an absolute mess. But it's going to be on the inside, so I'm going to persevere. Horrors, but I'm going to persevere anyway, and hopefully the top stitching will save the day. I've spent absolute ages going back and forth and back and forth. I mean, look at that mess. But then once I had adjusted the bobbin, look at that, absolutely beautiful. One little tiny screw, so annoying, because this is not my machine. It was given to me recently and I still have to learn the ins and outs of it. Okay, so with no instructions as well. So what I'm going to do is, before I go and iron it, what I need to do is turn it inside out. And firstly, I actually do it in the air like this. Yes, I could do it on the table, but for some reason or other, I'm doing it in the air. So I've gotten used to doing it. Let me just put the light. I pushed everything aside to fix the bobbin. So I come to the corner there, take that off. I should take a little tiny bit of this here off as well. And I'll be doing the same with the square. Horrific tension. Hopefully all will be forgiven when it gets turned inside out. If not, then this will definitely be for demonstration purposes only, this, and it won't be used. Okay. Oops. I have so many of these little scissors lying around. They're from Poundland. Some cut better than others. And the last one. Yes, I literally do cut it in the air. I mean, I could cut it on the table, but for some reason or other, probably because these scissors are not ideal, I haven't been sewing for so long, dusting off the machine. It was given to me. I'm trying to get it to work. Oh, there we go. My little yogurt container. Okay, so here is how I fold this inside out and get those corners nice. Chopsticks. There probably is some fancy sewing utensil that does this trick. My mum used to have a a piece of wood with like a bulb at the end. I had 101 different jobs, that thing, and one of them was to do this. She was a professional seamstress in her day. Okay, so with the chopsticks, now I wouldn't advise using a pencil because the pencil or the pen or anything will go straight through. You need to have something that has at least a little bit of a blunt end. You can go and look in your house if you don't have a chopstick, or you can go down, if you live in a town or a city, you can go down to your local Chinese restaurant. You can kindly ask them, Chinese takeaway. They give us a ton of these, so I have quite a few of these packets lying around. And there we go. Look how easy that is. Here, I'll take a little thread out because it will be visible. This is not the most opaque fabric. Fortunately, you can actually see the edging through, so I have to be quite careful that I cut it straight. Here's the same one. I mean, I could cut that away. Let me see. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. Okay. Same thing. You can either try and get as much as you want through, or you can just simply, what I actually do is I do this while watching TV. I have a whole pile of them in my lap, and it's done in no time. I love the process of doing a whole lot of things in one different, one step I do a whole lot, and then the next step I do a whole lot. Some people don't like that. I get a lot of pleasure from that. So that's why I like to do a whole lot of these together at the same time. And I iron them all together at the same time. So it's pretty neat. And you think, oh, well, that's good enough, but I need to iron it. It's up to you. I just like to have a slightly... This fabric doesn't iron very well. What I mean is when I iron it, it just bounces back. But it's an odd fabric. It behaves more like plastic than it does like a cotton. I bought 2 different fabrics from eBay at the same time, and the other one creases horrendously. It has 1,000 different creases in it. So I am using this one. Okay, so now off to the ironing board, and I'll push pause on this. So here goes at the ironing board, shaking a little bit. I have my square and my triangle, and what I'm going to do is dampen them. Even though my iron does have a built-in steamer, I have not yet purchased distilled water for it, and this water has a very high level of calcium or whatever it is. It's ruining the kettle at the moment, and I've just purchased this little iron, and the last thing I want to do is actually have calcium deposits in it. I actually literally bought this iron to do the lining. It has this cute little stand as well. It's been a couple of months I have wanted to do the lining for the pockets. I had the fabric, I had the iron, I had the machine that was annoying me, and I just had to literally get down to working out how to do it. Okay, that should be good enough. over just for an extra. So as you have noted, I have not sewn closed the little side. When I top stitch it, that will automatically seal. And there we go. We'll switch the iron off and we will go back to the sewing machine. So here we are back at the sewing machine. I have, as you know, ironed, and I am going to be pinning the triangle to this. Let me just see where that opening is, because I do actually like to have it at the bottom. So as you can see, I have not pulled these open, I've just ironed them flat. Horrors. There's a way you can actually completely open the seam. I guess it really depends what you're sewing it for. So there it is. I want that at the bottom, so it's out of the way. Okay. I mean, it won't be visible, but nonetheless. Okay. Now, a little bit more over, just a fraction. I'm more concerned about these corners than I am at the bottom one, as well as the edges. It's going over a bit more on that side. Okay, take it not too close to the edge. I made that mistake last time, because the foot has to actually work past it. Okay. It's a little bit squeaky because it's slightly damp. Normally I just let it dry out. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to start up here. We're going to leave some ribbon, which later on will make the bow. And we will go down to this corner. We won't cut the thread. We will literally leave the needle in and turn. Then you cut the ribbon. And then we will come down here, leave the needle in so we can turn. And then when we get here, we will be introducing, when we get to this corner, we'll be introducing the next section of ribbon. Catch it, make sure that it's underneath the foot, and we'll be going all the way up to here. When I start, I leave a long section of thread, and when I end, I do the same, because I will be using that thread to make the bow as well as to sew the seeds on, the beads. the beads. The machine's noisy, so I won't talk while I am sewing. That's why I wanted to explain everything before I did start. Okay, let's get the machine over. That's good enough. Take enough off of the reel, so I don't have to stop and do that. What is that little bit of schmutzig? Oh no. Okay. Put that in place. Now, I have been fiddling with the tension of the foot as well, of the foot. So hopefully it'll be good. I've given it a real fiddle, the machine. So let's see what. Yeah, it's quite loose. Just to anchor it nicely. Pinning it at the bottom. Can you see in the photograph? I'm just holding it there. I'm in the video. And off we go. Put the foot in place. Scissors, don't need those. Just nip it off. Turn. And I'll be going down to the other corner. Just make sure I don't go beyond where the ribbon comes in. Okay, put it by hand here because I'm going through quite a few layers and I don't want to break my needle. Whoops. Yesterday I didn't go back. If I did, I just push the back and give it one little back thread, but that is really not necessary. Cutting a long piece of ribbon and then pulling a nice generous piece so that I can put in the beads and sew down the sides. Take out the 2 pins. Then, as I said, normally I'd make a whole pile of these, and then later on I would do all the beads and bows together. So let's go to that table and I'll show you how to put the beads in. So we are going to be adding the beads and making a little bow. Here are 2 different examples. This one has 1 bow and it has the beads. It's a large one, the bow's a little bit longer. This one I actually made quite a few bows because I had these little offcuts and I just simply added them. But it's really up to you. I'm going to be showing you the simple one, which is to fold them like that and then to add the beads. First thing we're going to do is take these threads that are in the front. There we go. And I'm just going to move them to the back. I am using a tapestry needle. It's sold as a tapestry needle, not as a sewing needle. It has a wonderfully large head with a large hole. Okay, so those are in the back. Now this one here I'm going to be using, no, I'm not going to be using that one, it's too short. So, error of my ways when I was demonstrating, I was not concentrating on making a long tail with my starter thread. So I'm just going to work this one away. Cut him. Okay, so now he's out the way. I'm going to zoom in. So let's get started. I'm going to be choosing one of these threads. I'll take this one here. As I said, I was not being diligent, and my starter threads are not as long as they should be. The sewing machine. Going to sew the bow in place first and then add the beads. So first I fold over one side, and then coming in at the north, the compass, I'm going to go down, pin it in place, going into the middle. This will be covered by the bead as well as by the next ribbon. Come from the south. What is it, quite at the angle I want? No, I want it a little bit more in. Come at the south and go back in. Fold the other one over to more or less follow the angle. Once again, it's up to you, it's your preference. I want the bow to be a little bit open, so it's going to be just slightly over. Coming in from the south. Going into the middle. Coming from the north. Going into the middle. It's getting a bit thick there. It's quite a few layers of ribbon. Now I'm going to come out at the west. And this won't be under the bead, so I'm actually just going to go a little bit in and nip, just catch it there. Try and make the stitches invisible as possible. Go to the other side and do the same. Try and make it as small as possible, that stitch, but at the same time catching the ribbons. So there we go. I'll make one more just to anchor it. You come from the north or from the south. I'm coming from the north to the middle. Slight angle coming out the back. There we go. Lovely. Give it a little tug if you want to be sure. I'll be finishing off these here just now. Now this is too short to put the beads on. It's a shame. Lesson learned. Going through one layer of fabric. It is fiddly. If you do cut off one of these by accident. It's not the end of the world. I have a bobbin of yarn here. I mean, of thread, not yarn, of thread. So when that does happen, I always have something on hand. Uh-oh. See, too busy chatting. I have to first bring my thread to the front. So I'm going to come out at the north, which is just above the bow. Then, because of the, come zoom out a little bit. Whoop. Because of the beads that I'm using, if I was just using the large ones, that would be fine. But I use these tiny little ones here, and they don't fit over the head. And because of those guys, we take 4 out. Because of that little tiny guy, I am going to use this. It's a rather pricey piece of metal from the beading accessories distribution people, eBay. But I think any kind of wire that you have lying around in the house could do the trick. I was actually thinking about it yesterday. You know, you get those twisty wires whenever you buy something that comes with freezer bags, like for instance with freezer bags, and they have little twisty wires. If one took the paper off the wire, then one is just basically left with this. So there are actually ways to get around it. I mean, around buying something like this. Okay. I also have beading needles, but the size of the hole is so tiny. And considering that it's just a quick job that I need to do here, it doesn't seem worth the effort of trying to thread that needle. So I've put them through, and I will zoom in again, take it off this wire, put it in my little tray, thread this, and we'll zoom in again. So I have my beads on here. I'm gonna go, this last little one is actually the what would you call it? It's like a stopper, anchor stopper. Stops the other beads from falling off. So the last little one, he goes forward, and then I go through the big ones at the back. It's fiddly, but it's okay. There we go. So now that's hanging down, but once I thread it through, I go back into position north. It jumps up. So making sure these other ones are out the way, because I don't want them to get tangled up. Tucked away, hold my fingers. What I'm going to do is give it a little pull, and then I'm going to hold it down with my finger, and I'm going to come out either at the west or at the east. You see, it's quite stiff. Okay, this is in the west. And let me just go into the east, and I'll pull that little beady thing down. some reason or other it's quite stiff today. Put the little beady thing down, and then I'm going to be feeding this cotton over the center and pulling it down. And what that has now done is keeping it in place. This is at the back. Remember, I fed it through on the eastern side. I'm going to go a little bit further down. Don't want to catch this guy here. Take him out the way. Go a little bit further down. Come out on the west. Go into the east. Now this one's easy because I'm literally going through just the square. I'm not going through the ribbon. But I must make sure that when I do come, I'm going to catch it there, between those beads. And I come down. It goes click. Here, click into place. Okay, I'm very happy with that. It looks like a little butterfly, doesn't it? Turn the work over. And now I need to make sure this is not going to come loose. Take this out the way again. Pin it down with my finger. And I'm just going to work it a number of round and rounds. Okay, I'm happy with that. Going down, just going with between the two different layers of the square. Okay. Is this yarn long enough to actually sew up the, I'll go back. I'm going to start with it, and if I run out, I will just add some. So now we're ready for the next step. I'm going to push pause and zoom out. So I went to fetch this, and the next step is placing the pocket, the lining pocket, inside the knitted or crocheted pocket. Tuck it into place. Now this is the moment where I'll trim this here. That side as well. If you want, you can sew it in, you can glue it down. It's really up to you. The way that I've made the pocket there, it actually has like a little corner there. And so this guy goes into that little corner. Same with the other side. And I feed this all the way down. You can really place them well. If it's knitted, it will be a little bit different because knitting is more stretchy. And the crochet is actually almost more user-friendly in placing the pocket. Okay, I'll take these out the way. My sewing desk is just behind me, so it's quite practical. I'm very happy with that. It's beautifully placed. It's even. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin it in place here, because I will be going down there be going down this side, turn it over, and these sides here. And then once all that's in place, once the square is in place, I will be pinning this and tacking that along there as well. So let's start with just want to get it even and as flat as possible. Once again, I do a whole lot of them at the same time, so there's a certain rhythm that I pick up once I've got past the first one. You can use whatever size needle you want. I'm just going to stick with this guy. I do actually have a size up that I sometimes use. I'll start with the long one. See how far we'll go with him. Okay, there's 2 threads. Just going to find out where he lies, because this is, if it's not right, it will pull to one side or the other. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now turn it over, and I'm going to be working while it's flat. I'm going to zoom in a bit so you can see what I'm doing. I'm working white on white, but you'll start to understand the principle. So my fingers are underneath the fabric, and I will be able to feel what's going on. They'll be guiding me. So this is the first part. I just put it in there. With the next one, I will tack it in place better with the next thread. But this one is still, it's still settling. So I've just gone over once, and now I will be going back in, and I will be catching the fabric with my fingers as a guide. So it's come out here. I'll step back a little bit, go in, catch the fabric. I can feel it nicely caught, and pull it out. Come out there. I'll step back a little bit, go in, catch the fabric, and come out. And I'll just keep on doing this all the way. And the fabric that I'm catching is more or less where the ribbon has been sewn. Coming past where the pin is. So now you can see why it's so handy to leave those long tails at the start and end of the machine sewing process. Okay, and I'm coming to the corner, There's the corner. And I've used up most of my thread. Corner sticking out a little bit. That's the difference with the crochet and the knitting. Is what it is. So I'm just going to work away the cotton. I'm not catching the fabric. This is what it looks like from the other side. I'm just going to leave the pin in place. This is the corner. As you can see, it sticks out a little bit. I have been scratching my head about maybe rounding off those edges. I'm sure I'm going to come up with something and then tweak my design. Because see, this is already rounded off. So there's no reason why I don't round those off. I'd have to obviously change that on my template, my cardboard template. But for now, as this is the beginning of the journey, it's only been a couple of days that I've been making these. I'm going to stay with the standard size, the templates, cardboard templates. So now I've come, remember last time I only just caught that. This time I'm going to anchor it well. I'm going to go through all the layers. Go back into the yarn, which is the wool, acrylic yarn, but come out somewhere else. Try to keep it flat. Go back in. Okay, turn it over. Just going to do another 1 or 2 times. Okay, that's good. Happy with that. It's not very long. I'll go as so last time we worked down this side, that side's anchored in place. Now we need to anchor this one in place, and I'm going to zoom out. We have to work at a different angle, so you have one choice. If you want to do, you could start down there and go up there, but I prefer to always work from the anchored point down to the floating point. So we are going to have to improvise our angle, or adjust our angle, I should say. I'm going to flip it over, and I'm working from here upwards, whereas last time I was working down like that. This time I'm working from there to that way, so I'm going to be working like that. Using my fingers to guide. Go in, coming out, and then going in, catching the fabric. I can feel it catch. Come out. Zoom in a little bit. Going in, catching the fabric. Coming out. So I come out there, step back a little bit with the needle, go in, catch the fabric. Literally running all the way along the fabric, and this finger here in the front is telling me that I have not gone all the way through. And it is where the ribbon is, more or less. top stitch. It's holding down the ribbon. Try to keep this as flat as possible. I don't want it to warp. Now luckily, because this is white on white, it disappears. But I actually did use this white thread on the dark cream pocket, crocheted pocket, and it all but disappeared. Couldn't see it. So the white thread on the cream actually did work well. So I've come to the end of that. I don't have much left, so I'm just going to work it away. Go back in, catch it, and then go in 3 different directions, which I didn't do earlier. Should go nicely in. 1, 2, and 3. Turn it over, take the pins out. Yes, I'm happy with that. That's neat. Corners are neat. Now you could say, okay, well, let me just sew this down and leave that free floating. That's an option. You can also just tack it down at the bottom after doing that closed, or you can run down here and you can run down there and you can tack it in place. I'll let you decide what you want to do. For demonstrations, I'm just going to do the front here because that's different from these sides. Take a generous amount of cotton. This is actually a thicker, slightly thicker cotton. Whoops. And it has quite a few plies to it. It's going to be a problem? No. Okay. I do want to keep it flat and I want to keep it in place. I don't want it to move while I'm working. Just some pins, just to make sure it doesn't shift. Now this one has a scallop. The first one I've done it with, they made a scallop. I don't know if I like it or not, but it does allow me to have a bit more space for the pocket, because beforehand I didn't have the scallop, so this was the last row there, and I had to make sure that the pocket was inside, so it was just. Whereas this one does hide it a bit more. I'm going to use the 3 direction rule. 1, coming back just a slight bit there, 2, And you're probably thinking, oh my goodness, so fiddly. I'm going to come back. So we don't want this to come undone. This is the front. And once again, as I said, because of the crochet, you can actually see that peeking out, which is a shame. So I'll try and keep it as flat as possible. Now, the ribbon is going to be running through, you would think it's going to be running through these holes, but I was actually putting it through those holes earlier on. And then I thought to myself, if I add a scallop, I could probably put the ribbon up there. So, as I said, it's all a learning curve for me. Let me see where. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually run it along here, the thread. And then we will see afterwards where I'm going to place the ribbon. Your own creations will probably, while you're making them, you might think, you know what, I'm going to adjust the way I'm going to do it. I'm not going to do it exactly the way that she does. And that's perfect. Because everybody has a different way of expressing themselves through their yarn and their fabric. So this running stitch now, don't know why I call it running stitch. This is to just basically keep the lining in place. Okay. I don't have the thickness of the ribbon. At the same time, as far as possible, I am trying to not go all the way through the 2 layers, because the triangle, remember, is made out of 2 layers. Sure, now and then it might just peek through, but my finger here zoom in a little bit just in case you want to see what I'm doing. My finger here at the back is trying to stop it from going through the 2 layers. Even zoom in some more. See, that's where I could put the ribbon. I said it's undecided yet. I'll do it just now. You can see where we are with the ribbon. I usually put it a little bit lower, so I might just end up doing that again. Whoops. No, no, no. Okay. Oops. I fell off the screen. I'm watching my hands, not the camera. To look at the camera, I've got to take my eyes off the work here. Oh, I think I'm going to be lucky with the length of cotton that I cut. just anchor this. I could have done it with the other side of the corner as well. Zoom out a bit. I could have anchored that a bit better. That's really annoying me that this sticks out. Well, if I do dramatically modify my template, I can always make another video showing that. Okay, turn it over. You're probably thinking this corner is getting far more attention than the other corner, and you're quite right. Run out of cotton. I do this a lot. I put the needle in first and then thread it. Okay. Always go the wrong way. Let's see what it looks like inside. As I said, it has come through a few times. It's not beautiful, but it will do. It's not beautiful, it's not beautiful. Going to definitely have to work on my technique there. So let's get the ribbon. So the one I sewed on here is a 2mm. This one is a 6mm. Polyester satin ribbon. If it was a very small pocket, I would cut longer pieces in the pocket. But I'm just using the pocket as a guide. Where's my ruler? We can get an idea. So that's 8.5 inches. And that is a good length for tying a bow. So that's one side. That's the other side. And that is the part that goes through here. Now this part, we'll zoom in here because I'm going to do it for all of them. Pleat it like that. A little bit away from the end. With a sharp pair of scissors. Cut down. And it looks like the tongue of a snake. These ones I don't. These ones I cut at a sharp angle. Falling off the screen again. So I just cut them at a sharp angle like that. Go back to my needles. This is a blunt nose. It's a very big one. Put this one away. I'm going to start on that side. You can start on any side you want. And I'm going to thread it through. So normally I was threading through this here, but I want to try this time threading it underneath the scallop there. Where is the end one? So now this is the trick. We actually need to have a odd number of spaces. So let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, I think that's not again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. That's good. I'm going to come out of this one here, 21. If it was not, I'd come out that one, make it 22. So I'm going to go in there. What I need to do is, as I pull it, straighten it out. Try and untwist it before I actually came through. Let me try and untwist him. What am I doing? Okay, I've got him straightened out. Okay. Oh, somehow I've miscounted. Have I missed a hole anywhere? No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, it's 11 bumps. I knew something had to be uneven numbers. You would think by this time I would know. Maybe this 6 millimeters a little bit thick. Could maybe have gone with a 2 millimeter, but I do like the 6 millimeter for these bows. So I'm gonna just try and take him out a little bit. Try and flatten him out a bit. Come on. Be cooperative. It's here. Okay, it's there. It's got a little tiny twist in it. Absolutely determined to get him flat. A little bit more on that side. Because then you see, when it gets packed or something, a little bit more. There we go. Yes, I'm happy with that. Very happy with that. So let's experiment with this one. Normally I wouldn't, because I'll just pack them like this. But we are going to see what happens when he gets pulled, whoops, into a pocket. Means I'm going to have to re-twist him again. So the camera stopped. So that was a little bit short there. So the pocket now has been closed, and just experimenting to see space inside, still keeping its shape. And if the pocket is opened just a little bit, it's still fine. Fold it like that. Yes, it's fine. I don't think there's any problems with that. With this slightly different design I have now of putting the scallops along the edge here. Yeah, it's very nice. Okay, so thank you very much for watching, and I hope it's been informative and you have been patient with my machine and all the other problems that I've had along the way, which happens to all of us. We all have things that go hiccup along the way, but we have finally got to the end. So thank you very much, and goodbye.